Okay, we're back. We're live. It's Thursday. Am I right? Yeah.
Yes, it's Thursday.
That's Suzanne Skjold. Skjold.
Skjold.
Thank you. I want to spell it for you. It's S-K-J-O-L-D.
Yes. Perfect way to start a show.
Everybody knows that. Swedish. Okay. And she is the executive director of Hawaii Literacy, which is funded in part by United Way, Aloha United Way. And this show is United We Stand. Aloha United We Stand. That's what we call the show. So anybody who is in the channel from Aloha United Way is a potential guest. And you today are our featured special guest.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
My pleasure.
We're calling this From Education to Poverty Prevention. And there's so many questions. I had 5 minutes with you. I probably have 2 hours of questions. So
I'll try to talk fast.
Okay, first thing is describe the organization for us.
Sure. Hawaii Literacy has been around since 1971. We're a small local agency. We focus on basic literacy skills for both adults and children. We focus our youth programs on sites that we know there's going to be a large amount of children who need extra help to do well in school. As an agency with our children, we're really committed to getting children at risk reading at grade level, ideally by grade 3 or 4 at the latest. With adults, we have services for any adult who may have grown up here on the mainland who speaks English but maybe didn't learn the reading and writing skills they need. We can provide one-to-one tutors for them. And then we also have English language programs for classes for adults who may be newer to Hawaii and seeking to learn to speak English.
Okay, now let's take a minute and talk about you, okay?
Okay.
Suzanne, you went to school on the East Coast at Williams, was it?
Yes, Williams
College.
College.
It's a very, very, very good school.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
What did you study? Wait, I know what you studied. You studied history and psychology.
I did, yes.
With the view to do what?
I can't say that I was that put together in college to know what I wanted to do in the future.
Are any of us?
I don't know. I guess not. I did always have a lot of interest in volunteering and kind of had this general idea that I wanted my work to make a difference. I come from a family of teachers and have always loved to read and found that reading is really a crucial way to get information, just to be able to better your life, to see the opportunities that are out there. And so when this opportunity came along, it seemed like a perfect match.
Wait, but then you went to Boston University.
I did.
And studied international relations.
I did.
Now, what exactly does that have to do with literacy?
Personally, I think a lot. And literacy is an international issue, so it wouldn't necessarily only be in Hawaii that there's people who cannot read and write. And I think people here in Hawaii and the United States and all over the world, their lives will be better if they have access to education, to literacy, to access to information.
It's a real global view of things.
It's essential, I think, universal.
Yeah, yeah. You know, when I well, not too long ago, I used to tell, you know, kids, people too, that the best course they could take was a law course. It's not a lawyer, because it would teach them how society works, and they didn't have to practice. They just had to know how society works, and you really couldn't capture that so well in any other thing. But I wouldn't tell them that today, because I think what's more important is how the world works. And I would tell them, study international relations first. That's what I would tell them. I'm not kidding you.
That's wonderful. I feel like it was a wonderful way to get a huge perspective on different cultures and how people interact, how decisions are made that I wouldn't have otherwise known.
Yeah. Okay, you came to Hawaii X years ago.
Yes, 7 years ago.
7 years ago, and immediately joined Hawaii Literacy.
I did. I came here to work with Hawaii Literacy.
Okay,
so
okay. They
dropped off my
recruited you
bags
from the
and
East Coast. Okay.
Yes, went right to my office.
That's great. And how have you found it to be?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I feel really fortunate. People are so welcoming. We feel like we've been able to join into a really wonderful community that's supportive, that shares a lot of the values that I've always had that you don't always find on the East Coast. And then just really feel very lucky to work with the staff that I work with. The board of directors at Hawaii Literacy are just amazing. So
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful move. I don't see myself going anywhere.
Okay, so have you built it?
We came from a place of crisis, and we're doing better now.
Okay.
That's not because of me. There's a
I'm sure
very
it's
brave.
because of you.
I just tried to right the ship, but there's amazing staff members who kept things going in tough conditions. There's an incredibly brave board of directors who took a chance on someone from the East Coast and put their money, their resources, and probably their reputations on really making sure that Hawaii literacy continue to exist. They really believe that education literacy is the core of what's going to make Hawaii a better place in the future. And they've stepped up to the plate and got us to where we are today. And I'd say we're still a work in progress. We're still small. We have not solved the issue of illiteracy in the state, and that really is our goal.
What exactly is being illiterate? I mean, because we live in a world that the written word is all around us, and if you want to keep up with the public conversation or the social conversation, you really have to know the written word. You have to get it from wherever it is, and that includes both print things and also now for sure it's the internet things. What is illiteracy? I mean, is it possible that somebody in the 21st century can exist in our society without being able to read?
Absolutely. Some people are surprised to learn that about 1 in 6 adults in Hawaii are not able to read and write at a functional level. That would mean,
what does that mean?
That would mean that they've probably had some years of school, so there's certain words they would be able to write. They may be able to read some very simple sentences. They almost certainly can write their own name. What they may not be able to do is read the directions on a medicine bottle or help their child with homework. Certainly cannot fill out an online job application, which is where almost all job applications are going now, even for very low-level jobs. And they may not be able to send text messages or find information on Google. Things that we take for granted that are how we access resources and information are really huge struggles for them. And so this just creates a large divide that they're much more likely to live in poverty. Their children are much more likely to do poorly in school. You can imagine the shame that they live with each day, knowing that they are not doing everything that they can for their families, that they want to be able to do better, and they're not quite sure how to fix that situation.
And it perpetuates from generation to generation.
Absolutely.
Because you learn your early views about reading and there's skills about reading at home.
Absolutely.
If you don't have it at home, well, and then that carries on.
Of course, and even more basically than that, an adult who's illiterate is not likely to have books in the home, and we know that has a huge impact on a child's future ability to read. They will probably not use as many vocabulary words, so that child will even hear fewer words than a child from a more well-off family. So it perpetuates in every way the early childhood piece of building the skills that are going to help that child do well in school are going to be lacking, and then just the simple part, the child's more likely to live in poverty, and there will be very few physical resources. They're not going to have that Kindle, they're not going to have internet access, they're not even going to have books.
So, and you have data on this, I'm sure. There must be a lot of articles written connecting up literacy with the ability to earn a living, how much you earn,
Absolutely.
and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, illiteracy and poverty are extremely closely connected.
One creates the other, and the other creates the other.
Vicious cycle. So the definition of a vicious cycle. And so, of course, the good news is that when an adult learns to read and write, even later in life, that their family income does increase and their children do better in school.
That's like smoking, if you give it up, then you can recover. So, but the question is, are there people around where you can't even tell? In other words, they have a passable vocabulary, they can speak the language, they know the music of the language. They just can't read for one reason or another.
Of course, we do. We have a whole range of adults who come into our programs. Some maybe fit the more stereotypical, dropped out of school, don't appear very educated. And we have other people who would make your jaw drop, extremely well-spoken, well-dressed, appear cultured, may have traveled, and either because they have dealt with a learning disability and never got the one-to-one attention they needed to overcome that, or often there's family trauma where they moved around a lot, they didn't stay in the same school, and really just truly slipped through the cracks. Their parents may not have been either able or willing to help them, really advocate for them to get the help and services they need, and often they left school, but they live with it. And they're extremely intelligent, and they use that intelligence to get by in ways that you and I can't even imagine.
Right, so they're smarter than the average person.
Many of them are, yes.
Working against a disability.
Yes, they're working against a disability or just life circumstances, and they are extremely savvy about how to get through the world without this secret of theirs that they're carrying around being exposed, and to everything that they do. They do put food on their table, they do help their children, they often also hold jobs, and the extra stress and effort it takes for them to do that on a day-to-day basis without being able to use reading and writing is just extraordinary.
But it's a secret. In other words, when they go out into the world, they have to cover.
Yes.
And that must be hard, embarrassing, it's a stress point, it's risky because people might find out.
Of course. We have students who've come to us and said, I need to make sure my employer does not find out because I will be fired and my family will be homeless if anyone knows that I'm here. We amazingly also have employers who've called us and say, I have a great employee, but he can't read and I want to keep him. I want him to advance. So we've actually had employers call us and ask for help for their own employees because they want to see them really have job development, and those people should be applauded. We need more of that in the state.
Okay, so I want to talk about your programs.
Sure.
And you have many of them, and I'd like to know what they are and how you accomplish them.
Sure. We have 5 programs. 3 of them are focused on adults, our Parents Achieving Literacy, Adult Literacy Tutoring, which is what we've been discussing, and then the English Language Learner programs. And they all run on really different models because many people have the conception that not being able to read and write or speak English are similar, and they're very different. And so English classes are held as a group. They're much more traditional school-type settings. They're 5 times a week. Students can come and go as they wish. We try to be extremely flexible so that no one is constrained by their own schedules and not be able to get any help.
Classroom setting, though.
Absolutely, yes.
They can come and go.
They can come and go. The classes are ongoing. There are 3 locations. And the adult literacy program is quite different. That's someone who's grown up here on the mainland. They've faced a variety of struggles and never learned to read and write. And so for that, we match them with a one-to-one tutor. And we provide books, resources, Kindles, whatever is needed to help them build the skills.
Okay, hold a second, because we're going to take a break.
Of course.
We'll come back and drill
Great.
down on both of those categories.
Sounds great.
Okay, that's Suzanne Skjold. Get that right?
Yes, you did.
Executive Director of Hawaii Literacy. We're here on Aloha United We Stand because we care about what Aloha United cares about. And we're talking about from education to poverty prevention. This is a really important question, and you're not going to be able to finish this conversation without helping us with that last part. Okay, we'll be right back after this short break.
I'm Ethan Allen. I host Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii, and I do this because I care about science literacy in Hawaii. I want to spread the understanding that science is a vital and interesting part of everyone's life. I want to make sure the broadest possible spectrum of people understand the beauty and the value of science and realize that science plays out each and every day of their lives. I want you to understand that science is fun. So we bring onto this show each week guests who are scientists, from astronomers to zoologists, and we talk about what they do and how they do it. But most importantly, we talk about why you should care about their work, why you should see that their work has value and impact on your life. So I hope you'll join us Fridays, 1 p.m. here on ThinkTech Hawaii. You can watch us via live stream. You can watch us recorded on Olelo, and you can see us each week. We hope you'll join us.
We're back. We're live. We're here with Suzanne Skjold, talking about literacy. And we're talking a little about her programs here, the various programs in Hawaii literacy. And I want to know how they work, like in a personal sense. So I'll give you a case study.
Okay.
They do that at Williams College.
Yes, they do, many of them.
So I'm a mother, and I find that my child doesn't like books, doesn't read. I can see the way he functions, that he's not reading and doesn't like reading and can't read. So I called you up, and I said, Suzanne, I don't know what to do, but they say that you can make my child read. So what do you do from that point?
We have several programs. So our youth programs are all site-based. So we don't do one-to-one tutoring with youth. Many of the schools have programs that handle that, and we don't want to duplicate what the Department of Education already is working on.
Yes, but.
Yes, but.
No, I mean, all these people, this is a high rate of illiteracy in the state, and one would expect the first line of defense to be the schools, no?
Absolutely, yes.
What's going on that we have this high rate of illiteracy?
My personal opinion is the schools need much more support. As everyone in Hawaii knows, there's the have and the have-nots in the school system, and the schools that have children who are coming from non-English speaking backgrounds, facing great poverty, homelessness, transience, they're generally concentrated in one school, and those teachers may have 90 or 95% of kids facing real challenges. And
of one kind or another, not necessarily literacy or real literacy.
All the challenges I just mentioned are very likely to result in literacy problems. The children
directly or indirectly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those problems generally translate into a child who's not thriving in school, who's not reading at grade level. Mm-hmm. And so the schools simply need more help. And I think that's on literally every person in the state to look around and say, are we really okay with letting the children go to these schools and come out in 4th, 5th, 6th grade able to read at a 1st grade level? And this is not the teacher's fault. So they are facing sort of insurmountable challenges. They're constantly being asked to collect more data, to add a new program.
But the basics get lost in the process. Yeah?
My personal thought is if the schools are going to do one thing, is that make sure every child that comes out of your doors is able to read and write on grade level. If we achieve that, we have gone a long way, and many of the other initiatives are also very important.
Because then they can teach themselves. If they can read, they're way ahead. Yeah?
Or to put it another way, they're not going to learn any of those other initiatives if they cannot read and write.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting, because my question was going to be, if you could do one thing in the public schools about, having kids get up to the right level, it would be this, it would be reading.
I may be biased coming from Hawaii literacy, but absolutely. I think that is, after having safe schools where a child is in physical safety, I think that literacy, learning to read is the most crucial thing.
Looking at it now from the point of view of the schools, the public school, I don't know what happens in the private schools, but in the public schools, how would you do that? Would you just throw money at it? And if you were going to throw money at it, how would you throw the money at it?
Wow.
I know this is off our discussion.
Far from an expert in this
okay.
area, and my pre-apologies to anyone at the Department of Education who may be listening. My personal opinion is that we should invest additional resources in reading specialists.
Teachers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the sort of core minimum, and there are states in the country that do this, is that every teacher must be sort of certified or specifically instructed in how to teach reading. There's very specific reading strategies that you can use to teach a child how to read. There's 5 or 6 core areas they have to build skills in to become a successful reader.
And just for a moment, what are those?
Of course. Hopefully I'll know most of them. Certainly vocabulary development, so just hearing and knowing a wide variety of words. Yeah. Phonetic awareness, knowing what the sounds are. Yeah. I guess the first step would be the alphabet, knowing the alphabet, and then the sounds, how those sounds blend and work together. There is comprehension. Taking the time to make sure that a child understands what they've read to you or are reading to themselves. So those are really some of the crucial areas. There are things that every parent can do. There are things that I think most teachers know implicitly, but maybe aren't given the time to make sure that that's really what they're primarily focused on, especially in the younger grades. And I think throwing a lot of resources at that, making sure the teachers have the top-notch access to resources, that their time is primarily focused on that and less on maybe some of the other many different types of initiatives that hit the schools and they're asked to report upon. I think we're simply asking the teachers to do too many different things, and it's just, at a certain point, something does give, and I don't want to see that ever be reading. I think that is a foundational thing that we all hope for and expect from our public schools. Yeah,
right. I mean, you've got to be, when you come out of school, you have to be able to read.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're unprepared, and terrible things happen. So it's just a matter of getting, I mean, this is a very broad brush, but it's just a matter of getting experts in there who know how to use these basic concepts and teach the kids these basic principles of reading, and then practice, and I guess you have to have some personal attention when you're teaching reading, because you have to see how well he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, it strikes me, I mean, just my own conclusion, if you don't mind,
of course,
is, we've let this be a culture point in the schools. That is, we don't really attend to it. And so we've had generation after generation of 14 and 16% illiteracy in the state. And we can, as a statewide matter, we can't afford that.
Absolutely agree.
And that's why your board is there, taking chances.
Yes.
And that's why people are giving you money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important that you do what you do. Yeah. Okay, so we're going back to my case study.
Okay, of course, Mom.
Right, okay, so I come to you, and you see Johnny. There was a book about Johnny and reading, wasn't it?
I'm sure there was.
Book? Why can't Johnny read? This goes back into the 50s. I'd like to find that now.
That would be fantastic.
Anyway, so, okay, now you have Johnny in your program. What happens?
So if Johnny comes to our program, we do a wide variety of activities. Our first core activity for all of our youth programs is really book access, making sure they have fun, high-quality books and the encouragement to read. We have staff We have over 300 volunteers who work with us each year, and they assist. They do the one-to-one reading, they help with homework, they show the younger children how to use the Kindles, how to access ebooks, play the games. And so the first entry point is really just the access to the resources that aren't in the home. The second part is our staff is well-trained and continually doing more training, including this year with Kamehameha Schools was coming in to do some reading strategies for struggling readers. And with that kind of expertise, our staff can do some of the things we talked about earlier, the comprehension, the phonemic awareness, do fun activities that feel like games that help the children build those skills.
About vocabulary.
Absolutely.
About understanding the sentence and all that, yeah.
So typical daily activities would be things as simple as some flashcard games that build the 300 words that kids hear most in school. Simple things parents can do at home, like rhyming games. What word rhymes with Matt? Tell me another one. It's cat, bat.
So are you teaching the parents? You bring them in?
We do. We do some of that. We have in our Parents Achieving Literacy program, we do various workshops around the island that are really kind of fun and interactive. We're not trying to tell parents how to be parents. We're trying to give them these very concrete skills that help them help their own child become a reader.
And also help them as a secondary matter.
Potentially. Some of the parents who come to this, they don't read well themselves, and after seeing what we can do for their kids, they sometimes say, well, hey, can I join too? And we
nice.
welcome them in.
Yeah.
And some parents, they read and write perfectly well. They just don't have the background. No one taught them how to teach reading.
Yeah.
And so we do these fun activities with our parents at the various sites. The funding that we've gotten from Aloha United Way this year, we're going to be expanding a peer tutoring program with the younger kids. And that is going to lead into, and actually has already led into, some informal parenting sessions with families on the Waianae Coast, directly on the bookmobile, with our staff, 5-10-minute games that they can bring home and do with their children that don't require any materials beyond a pen and pencil, and don't actually even require the parents to have really strong literacy themselves. We have a lot of parents who come to us who love their kids and want them to do better than they've been able to do, and they don't have the skills to make that happen. And so that's where we feel like we can really bring value. And so that's the kind of thing that Aloha United Way is making happen in our communities.
Does it work?
Yes. I think there's this great relief when the parents realize that they can do something as simple as sing a song and rhyme. We've had these nursery rhymes around for hundreds of years, and there's a real reason for that. They're not just for fun. They teach phonemic awareness. They teach kids how the sounds go together. And parents may not connect those dots. Hawaii has a fantastic tradition of storytelling, and just by the fact of your children hearing stories from you verbally makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Picking up a picture book with no words and making up a story for your children makes a huge difference. And these are things that every parent can do, every adult can do with a child.
Interesting how an organization like yours, and I want to tell you a short story in a minute, actually helps the family operate as a family. I mean, it's a win-win-win-win-win, because every kid's benefiting, the family's benefiting, the parents are. So my story, Keala Kehe High School, big high school, up the hill above Kona, huge high school. And, the Big Island has a influx of Pacific Islanders. There's a lot of kids over there and families. And a lot of the families, just don't know how to live very well in this country. Going to the store, maybe it's a matter of reading too, I don't know, but, they have trouble. And so the high school launches the kids as teachers of their parents.
Oh, wow. And it's a role that many of them are already in, so supporting that reality, helping them navigate, basically being the translator for adults, it's really important.
Yeah, so the high school becomes a center of learning for both, for the whole family. This is really good.
It's wonderful, it's important.
Okay, so now Johnny is reading better. Now it's mostly in a classroom setting, and it takes you a certain period of time to have him, and as appropriate, his family pick up on that. But so how long is your contact with Johnny? When do you say enough? We have now achieved our goal.
We don't ever say enough, because it's not our goal, it's our clients' goals. So for the adults, they are the ones who say, I've gotten to where I want to be. For the children, they're site-based programs, so they run in Mare Wright, they run in Kuhio Park. Our bookmobile goes to 13 sites in Waianae each week. And so the children, sometimes they come for 5 years. They love it. Every week they come and check out books and hang out with Auntie Pua. Other times they may be in the transitional housing or homeless shelter. We may only see them 3 weeks. and they come to get books, and maybe their family moves and we never see them or those books again. That's okay with us.
Part of the price.
Absolutely, and it's a price we're happy to pay. And so it's really depending on the child's situation. The libraries in Mayor Wright and Cohio Park, which also have expanded their hours thanks to Aloha United Way's funding, they now run every day after school. And we have children who come 200 times a year. This is where they go after school. They love books. They love to read.
It's not just a social experience.
No, it is also
you've
social.
Given them a love.
Of course, yeah. Some of the children will say things like, "This is my family. I love coming here. I love how we're taught to be nice to each other here. I love the books. I love the snacks. I love the games." What they don't realize is that all of that is building character. All of that is building education and literacy. So it's meant to be fun. We don't want them to sit down and be quiet and read silently. It's really meant to be a interactive, social, very verbal, very active experience.
And they talk about what they read.
Often,
they
yes.
Talk to other people. About,
Yes. One of the things we do in both the libraries and the bookmobile is we'll have the child read to the adult rather than vice versa, and then the adults will often ask the questions. We have little post-its in each site. Here's like the 5 questions you can ask to, and what we're really doing is building comprehension. But it seems like a fun conversation with one-to-one attention with an adult, and many of the kids don't get a lot of that, and so they really thrive. They really they love coming. I think they do love learning, but they love learning because it's been made fun and accessible for them. It's a place for them.
It gives them an identity with others. This reminds me of the science fair. The Hawaii State Science and Engineering Fair.
Wonderful
every
event.
March. And one of the most salient features, and it isn't just kids, scientists do the same. I was at a conference last week. I told you before about brain mapping, and I saw the same thing happen. But they make these posters representing their research and the questions they pose, the answers they have, and then their big moment is when they can present this to strangers, to anyone, and this gives them a sense of confidence they would never have.
Yeah.
Goes right up to scientists, by the way,
Absolutely.
but especially kids. And so when you take that kid who's read the book and now has enough confidence to express, his understanding of the book to another person, you're giving him far more than reading. You're giving him social connection, a confidence, where he can, it's really terrific.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
a new kid.
That's the sort of same idea that's behind our peer tutoring program that we've been implementing. That we have these 10, 11-year-olds who come for several years to the bookmobile, and they've come to us and said, we want to help more. How do we help? Right there, you just see the community building. And we know that there's tons of 4- and 5-year-olds around them. They're younger brothers and sisters and just the child who lives next door. And so right now we're equipping them with those same skills, the ones we talked about, building comprehension, the phonemic awareness, the rhyming games, helping to read stories. We're going to teach the 10, 11-year-olds how to do that with their younger children. And so imagine the confidence that builds, that they are now a teacher, and they're contributing to their family.
Yes.
They're helping their younger children do better in school.
Yes.
And I think that to me is a win-win, because it's not just about the skills. It is about the community connection. People who don't have strong literacy skills do tend to be less connected community-wise. They withdraw at some extent. And when you bring people together on books and reading and learning, I think you don't just build literacy.
The implications are huge.
I agree.
And on a demographic level, on a number of people involved, the implications are societal. So much so that I have to take a break. Suzanne Skjold, she's the Executive Director of Hawaii Literacy. Here we are in Aloha United. We stand learning about something which I think is so important. I'm so glad you're here. From education to poverty prevention. We are going to get to that. When we come back, we'll talk about a lot more questions that I have. We'll be right back.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon. And on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
This is Alice Lee Hagan, host of ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My show here at ThinkTech Hawaii is every Thursday from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. I bring in interesting guests from Hawaii, the mainland, and hopefully international guests in the future. Do join us on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. Suzanne has been texting something, maybe tweeting something.
Absolutely.
Okay, because we do have a tweet address, a Twitter address, and it's ThinkTech HI. And we encourage our listeners and viewers to, to talk to us on Twitter. Tell us what they think, what they feel, and any questions they have. We want that, and we'll, if we catch it, we'll always read it on the air. So here we have one from Mark Ward. He writes to ThinkTech High. He says, if a society's values are determined by a country's investments, the U.S. doesn't seem to value education. Ergo, this is important work, and I agree with him.
Me too.
Thank you, Mark Ward. We always appreciate your comments. So let's go on to, I mean, really, I think what he's saying is it's not just Hawaii.
Of course
Although
not.
it's different from state to state, there are a lot of illiterate people, a lot of illiteracy in this country, which is really hard to understand because we are the most, even now, even with China on the horizon, taking our lunch, we are still the most, the most productive and economically powerful country in the world. However, if you look at Asia, if you look at Europe, we're falling behind in literacy, which is a metric for just exactly how productive, how smart we are going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the illiteracy rate in the U.S. is far higher, certainly than Northern Europe and many of the Asian countries. Singapore is a great example of, a country that has about 99% literacy. And so we have a big gap to fill. We certainly have the resources in this country. We have the educational infrastructure to do this. And that, I don't want to use the term political will, but there is definitely a lack of political will to make this a priority.
Priorities. I'm sure that people can defend all kinds of priorities, but you have to sort of shake it and bake it and decide which priorities really count.
Absolutely. We can't do everything, but I think this one is important.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the priorities that relate to the future are the most important priorities because they have a long extension. So, question about technology, because our technology is our middle name. So you talked about, the ability to do Kindle, the ability to do messaging and email and use the cell phone and all. I mean, these are really serious, tools of our time. Mm-hmm. And it's unbelievable that anyone who can't use those tools can survive, can be productive and prevail in the economic competition. But I wonder if the technology, the software, all the techniques you're talking about are made easier, make reading easier, make literacy easier. There must be stuff that you can automate when you teach these kids, right?
Yes and no. There are some amazing, amazing resources out there. There are free apps that go through the phonetic sounds for 4-year-olds. There's alphabet games. There's a million things out there, and I highly encourage people to go look for them. Use them, download them. They are just fantastic resources. It's been our experience that both children and adults who are struggling with reading and writing cannot only learn through technology. They need that individual attention. They need someone to show them how to access the games, the applications, whatever it is that they're going to learn from. And so certainly in the early stages of reading, I think it's both is the answer, that they need someone to instruct, to help, to guide, to encourage and give the confidence that they can go online and find independent information to learn independently. And then I think the world is their oyster. Once you start to build those skills, once they know where and how to access the information, then their learning can continue at a much faster pace than it would without technology. So I think that there's really it's a both answer for me.
Yeah. Okay, now I want to talk about the adults that you have in the program. I don't know, I'll use another name. Let's say Philip.
Philip.
Philip comes to you.
Yes.
Philip is way into his 50s, his 60s. He may be retired. He may have used his wits to get through his job all his life. Now he's retired and he's feeling incomplete because he can't really read. What happens?
You've just described about half of our students. This is a very common scenario. They will come, they will call our program manager, Darcy, in our office. Darcy will meet Philip, in our office or any place that's more convenient for Philip. Darcy is all over the island all the time, and just wants to get to know why now, Philip? How can we help you? And what do you want to achieve? Do you want to go back and get your GED? Is this so you can read to a new grandchild that you have? Do you just want to learn how to get a book on a Kindle? What do you want to do? And we really tailor our lessons around that. Once we've met with Philip and kind of see where he is and what he wants to do, we match him with a trained volunteer tutor who's been trained by Hawaii Literacy, and they will meet one-to-one, once or twice a week at a location and time that's convenient for both of them. So there's no classroom, there's no
one-on-one.
One-to-one. There's no formality. We have pairs who meet in Starbucks and Zippy's and McDonald's.
Perfect.
Community libraries.
Community lives.
Exactly, exactly. A few of them I think we may be starting to take over. And so it really is wherever they're comfortable, and often this pair becomes friends, and there is the literacy learning, then there's also the experience of life, you get to travel, or here's some game you could play with your grandchild, or we've had a student recently who wrote letters to his long-lost brother with his new literacy, something that really fundamentally changed his family structure in his life. So it snowballs, that first step of taking this first step to make the call, meet with Darcy, getting set up. It opens up literacy skills, but it opens up really a whole world. And
yes, a whole world.
So many of our students, like Philip, they come in, they're very hesitant, they're very afraid someone's going to find out what they're doing, and once they start to learn and realize they can now read, they just tell the world. They're so proud, rightfully so, of themselves, and it's wonderful to see that transformation of what literacy can do for somebody.
You can imagine what is in Philip's mind. I mean, he's been working by his wits all his life, decades and decades and decades, and he's feeling the pressure of that. He's feeling a little incomplete because of that, and then you complete him as a human being. His life is now.
He completes him. He's the one who made the call.
Okay.
We just give him the
He's
skills,
the one who made
but
the
he
call.
does it, yeah.
You answer.
Great. Absolutely. And the other side of that is the volunteer who works with him. Often the volunteers have also told us this is one of the most rewarding things they have ever done in their life, of seeing somebody learn to read and write and then be able to change their own life. It's sort of the core of self-sufficiency, independence, and so many of our volunteers are there also say, well, I came here to help somebody and I ended up being the one who got helped.
Yeah, that's the third case study. Okay, her name is Susan. Okay, and she comes to you and says, I'd like to help somebody. I understand you guys do literacy stuff, and I'm pretty good at reading. I don't know exactly how that qualifies me, but I'd like to participate in your program because I like your program. So what happens to Susan?
We gratefully take volunteers as both adult literacy tutors and also in our youth literacy programs. For the adult literacy, because they're meeting one-to-one and there isn't staff next to them to answer questions each day, they go through a 12-hour training. It's 3, usually weekend days, and we will teach them both how to teach reading, how to use the workbooks that we use, how to find information and resources to really connect it to what the student wants to do.
There's a lot of skills involved in that.
There is, but they're very teachable. And one of the things that we really want to make sure they understand is that adults learn very differently than children. And so we will equip the volunteers to understand how to continue to motivate their adult and to respond to what the adult is telling them, because adults are not usually passive learners. They come with goals, they come with a lot of life experience, and that can play really successfully into the tutoring.
They know what they want.
Absolutely.
And if they've had a career, they know that they got to work at it till they get it, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you are teaching these, Susan,
yes?
you open the big, national compendium on how to teach literacy. I mean, are there other organizations like Literacy Hawaii, or Hawaii Literacy rather? There's one in every state maybe? Is there a national organization that has this compendium and gives you conferences and shows you how to teach Susan to teach them? Tell me.
There are national resources. There historically were 2 groups, Literacy Volunteers of America and Pro Literacy, and they have merged together about 15 years ago. So there's a national organization that is dedicated to adult literacy in this country. I believe that every state has at least 1 chapter, and some have numerous chapters. The model is the one-to-one teaching that's really crucial for an adult to learn to read and write. And the only practical way for most nonprofits to do that is with volunteer help. We are not able to pay several hundred tutors.
Susan is a volunteer.
Susan is a volunteer.
Oh,
yes,
wonderful.
Susan comes to volunteer. Susan's probably someone who's loved to read, maybe has some extra time now, maybe is retired, or maybe just out of college.
Oh, any age. It's not just a kid.
No, no, no.
Could be anybody.
Anyone, yes.
So, okay, that's a perfect way for me to invite you to leave your takeaway. That's your takeaway camera over there. Okay, your takeaway to the people who would like to come around. Why should they come around? What will the gratification be? What will the result be? And how will they change our community? And don't forget to include the operative question: how will they prevent poverty?
Wow, how many seconds do I have for this? I think that the takeaway is that if you can read, you can help. There is a huge need in the state for adults and older children to get involved in helping another child and adult learn to read and write. Each person here, there's a wonderful saying, each one teach one, and we take that to heart, and I hope that you'll consider taking that to heart too. You can call Hawaii Literacy at 537-6706 or visit our website, hawaiiliteracy.org, and learn more about how you can get involved as a volunteer, as a donor. You can view our wish list. And the reason that we do this is because we believe that literacy is important, but we also know that literacy is crucial to helping families and children no longer live in poverty, to complete their schooling, and to have the strong, successful communities that we all want to see in Hawaii.
Great. God, what a guest. Suzanne Skjold, Executive Director of Hawaii Literacy. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much, Jay.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidell of ThinkTech Hawaii. Won't you consider helping ThinkTech? We're a 501c3 Hawaii nonprofit corporation, now in our 15th year. Our model and very existence depends on ongoing contributions from our underwriters. We are very appreciative for their support. We're hoping you will consider becoming one of our ThinkTech underwriters. Unless our underwriters prefer to be anonymous, we publicize them on thinktechhawaii.com and on our daily email program, sent to some 7,500 subscribers, our live stream talk shows, and our OC16 productions. With help from our underwriters, we have developed a high-tech video studio in Pioneer Plaza, and we now live stream 25 talk shows per week, covering science, tech, energy diversification, community, sustainability, and globalism for Hawaii. And we stream our earlier shows all night long. Our live stream is on thinktechhawaii.com. Check it out. We also upload all our shows to youtube.com, where we get 18,000 views per month. And we broadcast 12 hours per week on Olelo 54 and 3.5 hours per week on OC16. We also do monthly luncheon panel programs at the Laniakea, and we write a monthly column for the Honolulu Star Advertiser. We're really active. Our plans this year include improving the coverage, content, and production values of all of our programs, and including more issues and guests relating to the neighbor islands, either by Skype or in person. If you agree with our mission, I hope you'll consider helping us. If you have any questions about any of our activities, or if you'd like to discuss our underwriter arrangements, please write to me at jay@fidell.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for considering this suggestion, maybe even including you among our underwriters. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidell of ThinkTech Hawaii, and I approve this message. If you approve of it also, please give us a call.